Remember to subscribe down below and like the video and share it on your Facebook and other social media. And then make a comment, whether a question or a comment. We read all of them and we try to respond to all. Okay, so today I want to look at a special issue here about where Peter makes his confession of who Christ is. And Christ makes that famous statement that upon this rock I will build my church. And there's some dispute about this word rock and the word Peter, which are very close in the Greek. And so some people will say that these mean the same thing. Some people will say they mean different things. And we're going to clarify that today, right here. So let's first read it here in the King James. This is verses 15 through 19 in Matthew chapter 16. He hath said unto them, But whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. That's the King James. So now I want to show you the rooted word, and then I want to talk about those words. Let me tell you, though, first that even though this passage is used by Catholics to try to justify that Peter is the rock upon whom Christ would build the church, I knew from the Lord, even without knowing Greek yet, before I knew Greek, I knew from the Lord that Jesus was talking about Peter's testimony being the rock on which the church would be built. Not Peter himself, but the testimony of Peter. And we're going to see that that actually bears itself out in the Greek. Let's read the rooted word, the same passage. He is saying to them, But who are you saying I am? But being distinguished by decision from off of, Simon Peter lays forth, You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And being distinguished by decision from off of, Jesus, the Jesus is literally in the text, lays forth to him, Supremely blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, that flesh and blood does not reveal to you, but my Father who is in the heavens. But I am laying forth to you that you are Peter, and upon this, the rock, I will construct a house as a dwelling of me, the calling out, and gates of unseen Hades will not have force accordingly of it, the calling out. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heavens, and the thing in case that you may bind upon the earth, it will be having been bound in the heavens. And the thing in case that you may loose upon the earth, it will be having been loosed in the heavens. Now this text is exactly precise. I even inserted some references for the pronouns that are not clear in the English text. For example, when we say it, we don't know if it's referring to masculine, feminine, or neuter noun, like in Greek. We really don't have those. So we don't know what it refers to. But in the Greek, it's crystal clear. It's referring to the calling out here. Okay? So let's go back up here. I made some notes within the text where it says that you are Peter, and upon this, the rock, that's exactly what it says, this, the rock, which this rock is a feminine version of the word rock, which is Peter's name. It's not even the same gender. And so it's referring to something that is feminine. And the thing that just happened was that Peter made his testimony. And the word testimony is marturia. Marturia, the testimony, a marturia, is a feminine noun like petra. It's the testimony of Peter. So that's what it's referring to. I'm going to show you here in the Greek as well. So it's verse 18 here. You can see this. I'll scroll it down a little bit in case the emblems are in the way, covering it. And so here is Petros. This is Peter's name right here. Right, there's Petros, 4074. If we click on it, we see it over here to the right. Petros. Okay? And if you look below, it says NMSM. If you look on the left over here, that'll change when I hover over it. It's nominative singular masculine. So Petros is a masculine singular noun. Now, let's go ahead and look at the other word, petra, that is part of the issue right here, petra. So we click on 4073, petra over here. Okay, it says feminine of the same as 4074. Some want to say that one of these is a bigger rock than the others. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. It's just masculine and feminine of the same thing. And here it shows that it is dative singular feminine because its role in the sentence, right? So upon this, the rock. Upon is here epi, this taute, and the te, petra. This, the rock. Okay? So now you see that what this is referring to is something feminine, which is in context clearly the testimony of Peter, because that is what, in fact, Christ builds his church on. And it's not church. There's no word in the New Testament for church. Church is a building. Kirche. It's in German. Kirche. It's a building. It's not a group of people. It's a building. And you say, yeah, but the church is not the building. That's a modern thing that we've just started saying since the 80s. Okay? The church is not a building. It's the people. No, it's not. Church is a building. Those called out of are a people. Those called out of are a people. So back to our literal text. Okay? And the calling out. This is that word that's translated church. The calling out. The calling out. This is, what it's saying is ecclesia. Ek kaleo. Ek is out of, and kaleo is to call. So those who are called out of, that is the word that's being translated as church. But church in English is a Germanic word meaning a building, a religious building for Christianity, Kirche. So what are we doing translating this church? It has nothing to do with church. It's extremely wrong. This is the people. In the passage, this is about the people, those called out. The calling out, right? The calling out. Now, you notice it's the calling out, not the called out. And so that gives it a little different tone here. Let's read that again. I will construct a house as a dwelling of me. The calling out and gates of unseen Hades will not have force accordingly of it. Okay? Will not have force accordingly of it. So its force will not be able to match it, right? The calling out. I will construct a house as a dwelling of me. The calling out. It's not those called out, it's the calling out. So Christ is going to live in this dwelling that's being constructed of the calling out. Christ will live in that as a dwelling, the calling out. That points back again to the testimony of Peter, not to Peter himself, but to the testimony, because he said that it was revealed to him by Christ's Father who is in the heavens. It was revealed to him as a calling out. And that Christ would dwell in that. Well, of course, he is the Word of God. He is the Word of God in the flesh. Where else would he dwell but in the calling out from God the Father to us? This is the thing against that the gates of the unseen Hades, right? Look back in the text here. The gates of unseen Hades will not have force accordingly of it. It will not be able to stand up and overcome this calling out. This calling out will be made to the people. And Peter was the first to receive it. Therefore, it's named after him, Petra. His name's Petros. But since it is a calling out, which is also feminine, that is feminine, and marturia is feminine. And Petra, the rock upon which Christ will construct a house as a dwelling of him, the calling out. So you see how that's feminine, that's the thing, that's what the rock is referring to, Petra. Petros is referring to Peter. Peter, the man. But Petra is not referring to Peter. It is identifying it with him, that it is a rock, like Peter is named the rock, but this is feminine. So it's identified with Peter, because Peter was the first one to whom that was revealed. The first one who was called out of. Peter was. So it's named after him. It's his namesake, Petra. Petros, Petra. It's the Peter calling out. The calling out of Peter. Right? So you see how all that works together. But I hope that clarifies it for you, so you know for sure what this means now. You have no doubt. And if a Catholic wants to use it to try to say that Peter was the first pope, tell him. Say, Peter may have been the first pope. But that's not what this passage is saying. There's no reason to dispute with them whether Peter was the first pope, because he was actually the first leader after Pentecost. After the Lord ascended to heaven. He was the first leader, therefore you could argue very easily he was the first pope. But this passage is not saying that. And you need to get them to stop using it if you can. And by showing them, telling them, explaining it to them, that the rock is referring to the testimony of Peter and the calling out of God to Peter. They are both feminine. May the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart. Remember to subscribe down below and like the video and share it on your Facebook and other social media. And then make a comment, whether a question or a comment. We read all of them, and we try to respond to all. Get on over to our website, The Rooted Word, and start reading the translation and also the articles we've posted. It's at therootedword.com, therootedword.com. And may the Lord bless you as you seek him with all your heart.